He already has 7 Grand Slam titles at just 22 years old. He already completed the career Grand Slam, and now one of the most respected coaches in tennis believes Carlos Alcaraz has something so rare that he could actually chase Novak Djokovic's record of 24 majors, and the craziest part is that this rare skill is not his speed, not his forehand, not even his confidence under pressure. It is something far more dangerous because it means Alcaraz can win everywhere right now. There is a strange feeling around Carlos Alcaraz because on one side people are acting like he is suddenly in trouble after losing in Indian Wells and Miami, but on the other side, the numbers tell a completely different story. This is still the same player who started the season by winning 16 matches in a row. The same player who stormed through Australia and completed the career Grand Slam before his 23rd birthday. The same player who lifted the Qatar Open title and looked almost untouchable for the first 2 months of the season. Then suddenly everything changed. First came the loss to Daniil Medvedev in Indian Wells. Then came the shocking defeat to Sebastian Korda in Miami. And because this is tennis, because this sport changes its opinions every week, people immediately started asking the same question again. Is Carlos Alcaraz vulnerable? But maybe everyone is missing the bigger picture because while people are talking about the losses, Rick Macci is talking about history. And when Rick Macci speaks about young champions, tennis fans listen. This is the coach who worked with Serena Williams, Andy Roddick, Maria Sharapova, and so many future stars long before the rest of the world believed in them. Macci recently said that Carlos Alcaraz has a rare quality that almost nobody else in modern tennis possesses. He said the Spaniard's best surface is the one he is playing on. Think about how insane that statement really is. Most players have a home. Rafael Nadal had clay. Roger Federer had grass. Daniil Medvedev prefers hard courts. Casper Ruud loves clay. And even Novak Djokovic has always looked most comfortable on hard courts, but Alcaraz is different. He can destroy opponents on clay. He can dominate on hard courts, and somehow he can look just as dangerous on grass. That is why Rick Macci believes Alcaraz can become a double-digit Grand Slam champion, and maybe even get close to Djokovic himself. And honestly, when you look at the evidence, it is hard to disagree. At 22 years old, Alcaraz already has 7 majors. By the same age Novak Djokovic had only won 1. That does not automatically mean Alcaraz will end up with more than Djokovic, because tennis history is full of players who looked unstoppable for a few years and then faded away. But what makes Alcaraz different is that he does not rely on one style. If his power is not working, he can defend. If his defense is not enough, he can attack the net. If the rallies become too physical, he can change the pace. If the court is too slow, he can outlast you. If the court is too fast, he can take the ball earlier and rush you. Very few players in history have had that kind of complete toolbox. That is the rare skill Rick Macci is talking about. Adaptability, not normal adaptability. Elite adaptability, the kind that wins you one slam on hard courts, then another on clay, then another on grass, and suddenly people are no longer talking about whether you are great. They are talking about whether you could become the greatest ever. And this is why the next few weeks are so important, because Carlos Alcaraz is now entering the clay season. This is the part of the year where he becomes even more dangerous. After the disappointment in Miami, Alcaraz did not disappear. He did not complain. He did not start making excuses. He immediately traveled back to Murcia and went straight to work. That tells you everything about his mentality. He knows the criticism is coming. He knows people are already saying that Medvedev exposed him, that Korda found the blueprint, that maybe the incredible start to the season is over. But if there is one thing we have learned about Carlos Alcaraz, it is that he almost always responds, and now he is preparing for Monte Carlo, the same tournament where he has experienced both failure and triumph. That is what makes this story so interesting, because Monte Carlo has almost become a symbol of Alcaraz's growth back in 2022. He arrived there as one of the most exciting young players in the world. He was seeded 8th, he had momentum, and many people expected him to make a deep run. Instead, he lost to Sebastian Korda, and not just any loss. It was the kind of match that stays with you. Korda beat him 6-7, 7-6, 6-3, a brutal, tight, frustrating defeat. Alcaraz was close, but not ready, and now here we are again 3 years later, and Sebastian Korda has just beaten him in Miami too. That is one of the strangest storylines in tennis right now. For some reason Korda seems to bring out a different side of Alcaraz. He makes him uncomfortable. He forces him to rush. He takes away his rhythm. There are certain matchups in sports that never make complete sense on paper. The better player should win, but sometimes styles create problems, and Korda's clean timing, flat backhand, and calm personality seem to bother Alcaraz more than most players on tour. The question is whether that loss in Miami becomes a warning sign or fuel, because Carlos Alcaraz has always been the type of player who turns frustration into something dangerous. Just look at what happened last year in Monte Carlo. He came into the tournament under pressure, after a difficult month, after people started questioning him again. Then he fought his way all the way to the final against Lorenzo. Musetti. At first, everything looked like it was going wrong. Musetti took the first set 6-3. Alcaraz looked nervous, rushed, emotional, he was making mistakes. He was playing directly into Musetti's best shots. And for a moment it felt like another painful collapse was coming, but this is where Alcaraz separates himself from most players. He does not panic for very long, he adjusts. After the first set he changed his tactics completely. He stopped trying to finish points too quickly. He made the rallies longer, he trusted his movement, he trusted his legs, he trusted that eventually the match would shift in his direction, and that is exactly what happened. He won the second set 6-1, then he completely dominated the third set 6-love by the end of the match. The same player who looked lost in the opening set looked unstoppable. That is not just talent, that is a champion's instinct. After the match, Alcaraz said something very revealing. He admitted that he was nervous. He admitted that tactically he was not playing well. He admitted that he had to change everything. Most superstars do not like saying that publicly. They protect the image. They pretend they always knew what to do, but Alcaraz is different. He is honest, and maybe that honesty is another reason why he keeps improving so quickly, because he is willing to admit when something is not working. He is willing to learn in the middle of a match, and if you can do that at 22 years old, imagine what you might look like at 27. That is why the rest of the ATP Tour should be worried, because right now, Carlos Alcaraz is not even close to his final form. He is still making mistakes. He is still learning. He is still discovering new ways to win, and yet, he already has 7 Grand Slam titles. Imagine when the decision-making becomes cleaner. Imagine when he learns exactly how to manage his energy through an entire season. Imagine when he no longer gives away those random losses in smaller tournaments. That version of Carlos Alcaraz could become terrifying. There is another reason why Monte Carlo matters so much this year. He is the top seed. That means the expectations are even bigger. Every player in the draw will be looking at him as the man to beat. Every opponent will play the match of their life against him. That is the burden of becoming a superstar. You are no longer the hunter, you are the target, and that changes everything. We saw it happen to Federer, we saw it happen to Nadal, we saw it happen to Djokovic. At first you are the exciting young player with nothing to lose, then one day you become the favorite, and suddenly every defeat feels 10 times bigger. That is the stage Alcaraz is entering right now. The stage where greatness is expected, the stage where winning 1 Grand Slam is not enough anymore. People want to know how many he can win. People want to know if he can dominate for the next 10 years. People want to know if he can chase 24. Personally, I think that conversation is still too early. Novak Djokovic's record is one of the most impossible achievements in sports. 24 Grand Slam titles means staying healthy, staying motivated, surviving pressure, surviving injuries, surviving new generations. For more than 15 years, that is incredibly difficult. Even if Alcaraz stays great, even if he wins 2 or 3 majors every season, there is still no guarantee he gets there. But here is what makes this different. For the first time in a long time, there is a player who at least makes the idea sound possible, not because he is perfect, not because he never loses, but because he has every tool you would want in a future all-time great. The speed, the creativity, the mentality, the courage, the charisma, the touch, the power, and above all, the ability to adapt. That is the word that keeps coming back. Adapt clay court, adapt grass court, adapt hard court.